wasn't the only issue Sri Lankan Muslims have been facing. Lately, that was one of the major issues that has been faced by the Sri Lankan Muslims. And the government has given assurance on several occasions that they will allow burial. These promises have been made in the past as well, and they have said that they will find a wetland because they somehow assume that it will be transferred through water, and that's not the case. And then recently, the junior health minister made a comment at the parliament stating, the virus is not transmitted through the water. And one of the Muslim MPs recently asked Prime Minister in Parliament about the COVID burial. That was the reason that was given all along, because it was transmitted through the water. And then he came out and said, look, we're going to allow burial. But as of today, it wasn't gazetted. We have no idea when they will allow. But as of now, there is nothing gazetted or the law has not been passed to allow burial.
Yeah, I know you represent a significant number of clients. Have you had a chance to get reactions from them about this latest decision of the Sri Lankan government to find on a reverse course? I mean, I would think that for a lot of them, it's too little too late, considering a lot of their loved ones have already been cremated.
In regards to my clients, the people that have already lost somebody and had their deceased family member cremated, there is no resolution. You can't go back in time and fix that. What my clients are concerned about, including the Muslim Council of Britain, is how we deal with people going forward. So there needs to be two parts to this: the recognition of the violation of my clients' rights in terms of being able to bury their deceased family members in accordance with their religious rights and in accordance with their personal preference, which is allowed in international law, as well as making sure that people in the future that have family members that pass away from COVID are not forced to cremate their loved ones. And what's really interesting at the moment, and really important actually, is the President Rajapaksa's announcement in Parliament that he's going to allow burials. Well, we've heard this before, and we've also seen previous indications from the government in Sri Lanka that they will allow burial. But I'm not confident, as neither are my clients, that this will actually convert from words in parliamentary building into policy on the ground. And so we're watching this very closely to see if in actual fact there is a change in policy and Sri Lanka will now allow burial of people that have passed away as a result of COVID.
Faris, as I said in my introduction, Muslims make up 10% of the Sri Lankan population. It doesn't make sense, at least to me, to be targeting such a significant portion of the population. Why do you think it is that they are being targeted in this fashion? And why would the pandemic then be misused in this fashion?
I think this Islamophobia in Sri Lanka wasn't something new. It was started after the civil war of 2009. The extreme Buddhists started targeting Muslims. There were a lot of Islamophobia rhetoric that came out during that time. And they were pretty much saying, look, Muslims, there were a lot of lies around spread in the country about Muslims, stating that Muslims going to be overtaking the Sinhala population. There was a lot of accusations against Muslim businesses, Muslim doctors, Muslim journalists, and Muslim lawyers were jailed, right? And this is an accusation that's built up over time, and now, especially during the last election, the politicians took advantage of the situation. If you look at the present government, majority of the votes were from the Sinhalese population. So they're pandering to that crowd and they're building up this hysteria of Islamophobia. And that's exactly what is happening. So to obtain the votes, they have to continue this type of rhetoric against the Muslim community.
Yeah.
And this COVID there is no basis or cremation. And this is just to target the Muslim community. And that's the whole reason the government is doing it right now.
Tayyab, there was a lot of talk, certainly in the wake of the Easter Sunday bombings as well. I know about the Muslim community and its place within Sri Lanka and how it was being treated in the aftermath of that. Is this, in your opinion, a continuation of that sort of tensions that we're seeing, or is this, as Faris has there said, a much longer standing issue in the country?
Well, I think something that we've seen across the globe, actually, is an increase in anti-Muslim sentiment, Islamophobia, if you like. And this is something that concerns me as a human rights lawyer, but also concerns the Muslim Council of Britain. And it's something that we're looking at very carefully. There's clearly the issues in terms of national security that governments then use against Muslim communities in many countries, and I think this is part and parcel of what's happening in Sri Lanka. I think what's happened in Sri Lanka, particularly after the Easter Day bombings, is that there has been a focus on using discrimination against Muslims as a political football to feed into a popularist agenda and allow and try to gain support from the general population in respect of demonizing a certain aspect of the community. Now, we know this historically we know that this is a very dangerous thing that could happen in terms of even the United States of America. And we saw what populist sentiments pushed by the President of the United States of America led to a raid on the Capitol building itself. So in places like Sri Lanka, this is extraordinarily dangerous rhetoric coming from the government, particularly when something as simple as allowing a community to bury their dead in accordance with their ritual obligations is such a simple thing, and it really is unnecessary for this to happen this way. I mean, the policy in Sri Lanka is just very simply discriminatory. And what's really important, and you take some heart from this, is that all aspects of civil society in Sri Lanka, whether they be Buddhist or Christian, support my clients in their claim to restore their religious right to be buried in the way that the religion dictates that they should. And so this is not just a Muslim issue in Sri Lanka. It's become a political issue, and this is really unfortunate.
So, Faris, I'm wondering, many times when we see politicians resort to hate in any form, then that's usually seen as a distraction from bigger issues. So is Sri Lanka facing economic issues? Is that what the politicians are distracting the public from?
It is definitely a huge economic issue in Sri Lanka right now. If you look at the government, they have been selling the national assets. China is playing a bigger role. India is playing a bigger role, and the Sri Lankan citizens are very upset with the government of what is happening. Right, the economy wasn't doing well, and so this is a distraction. Right, they weren't talking about the economy. They weren't talking about this government. It's an ultra-nationalist government. They came to power, stating that, we would not, going through the phase of selling the Sri Lankan assets. And so this is definitely a distraction from that.